there, Tobie Love here with Cross Country Mortgage, and I have the absolute pleasure of not only a client, a friend, but my loan partner of admin and marketing. So some of you probably know, I'm sure you do know, but there's probably a lot of people out there that don't know that both of my loan partners were prior clients of mine. And I think that's really cool. So I have Miss Emilee here at disposal to interview about her experience right now in today's market. So first time home buyers, and I'm going to let her talk about that a little bit. And now second time around, and they're doing it a whole different way because they know what to do and what not to do. So let's say, let's talk about the logistics and not feelings. That's something we kind of talked about in our pre-meeting here. So tell me a little bit about that.
So this was all about the first time around versus the second time around. The first time around, we were just excited. We just wanted to go out and look at the houses, but we knew we were not doing things in the right order. I don't know if you know our house hunting trip, but we literally came up here for wine and to maybe look at a house. We had looked at Zillow, but we didn't know our budget. We weren't pre-approved. We never talked to a lender, didn't have an agent. And of course, we did the thing we tell people not to do is fall in love with the house before you're getting pre-approved. It's exactly what happened. So we were just kind of reactive because we were trying to get our offer in, and luckily we were before the craziness of 2021, 2022, so we didn't have as many offers to compete with, but we could have easily lost the house because we weren't ready. So this is a thing we learned now, is to make sure we have all our ducks in a row before we even looking at our houses. So absolutely,
and that's a number one thing. It's completely different. The market is a little bit different from when it was when you guys originally purchased, but not that much different.
Right.
And it's interesting to me to get to watch you guys go through this a second time because it's just different.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of moving pieces. How do you feel now when it comes to asking questions and different things like that?
So much more comfortable. We really didn't know what to expect. We weren't educated at all throughout the whole process. And now that, of course, I'm working with Tobie, so I have a lot more education and background, but just like knowing the steps, knowing what's happening, being comfortable with both your agent and your lender to ask the right questions if you're confused or you feel like you missed something. Just that open communication is key, and it definitely helps knowing the terms the second time around. You're like, oh, right, we did this the first time, and it's easier to process.
Definitely. So I know that you mentioned, what it meant to work with a buyer's agent and a lender. So tell me a little bit about that, because I think that's really important, especially in today's market. For the last couple of years, in all honesty, there were a lot of inexperienced lenders out there, agents out there, and if you've never gone through this process before, you may not know exactly what you're looking for. So tell us a little bit about that.
So we were definitely lucky the first time around because we did stumble across an agent while we were doing our one-day house hunting trip. So our recommendation was actually from the lender that was working with him. So I think if you don't have an agent yet, reach out to your lender because they work with hundreds of people and they can recommend one who's in your area, who knows what they're doing, who will get the job done. But luckily we happened to stumble across him just on a whim, and it worked out great. We're actually using him again for the selling of our house. We've kept communication. Now he's like one of our good friends now, but having a good agent who knows what they're doing, you're comfortable having that conversation. And this time around, we aren't able to use the same buyer's agent because we're moving out of state. So we could do a whole separate video about moving across the states because we've done several. Me and my husband keep saying that we were picky this time around because we knew what to expect. We knew what a good agent looked like. And we actually interviewed a few of them up where in Washington where we're moving, just to make sure they were a fit, that they knew what they were doing, that they weren't just trying to fill their own wallet and actually listening to what we're saying. And we feel comfortable having those conversations and asking those questions that come up.
Awesome. I love that. And then tell us about the lender part of it, because that's a big part. I mean, that's a big part too. And I think you can speak to that from, a couple different perspectives, because I've done a loan for you before, or you and your husband before you actually worked on my team. And then you've also have another experience with another lender before we actually were connected.
Yeah.
So I think you can really speak volumes to that.
Yes. So our first time around, again, we were somewhat lucky, but there's definitely things I've noticed now working with you, both as a client and as a employee. But when we originally had our first lender, he was really good at the very beginning because everything was kind of a scramble. Luckily, it was right after tax season, so I had all our documents in a row. So we were able to get things done pretty quickly. But then after the pre-approval, he disappeared. We did not have much communication. We would reach out a lot to our agent, our buyer's agent, and he would get the answers for us, but those questions were really supposed to be for the lender.
Yeah.
So I think making sure that you have the communication with the lender throughout the whole process and not them just talking to you to get you through the door, but actually be with you throughout the whole process is huge.
Absolutely. So I'm going to put you on the spot with something.
Okay.
So let's pretend that you don't work with me. You're not on my team. What would you say about the after process follow-up? What is one thing I think that we do here that I don't think you've heard from this other person or other than quite some time?
I haven't.
If at all.
Literally after we got through the process, I haven't heard anything, not a single word from him, not an email. And now that I work for you, and even before I worked with you as a client, it was constant communication, making sure I have all my paperwork correct, making sure I have the documents to pay my first mortgage statement, and even the little gifts that come in the mail. We are so much more in tune with our clients after that I feel a lot of lenders don't do. And same with agents. Our agent we talk to all the time, and you just want to make sure you have those lifelong connections because most likely you're going to maybe refinance. You may do a reverse mortgage in the future. You may do other things that require a lender, and having someone who already knows your history makes a world of difference.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have to do another follow-up after you make this move. And you guys have done this before, but I think that would be great for our audience to know the things to prepare for when you're trying to move out of state, because we have a lot of clients that are moving out of state. And if you're out there watching this, stay tuned for that video. We work with tons of military clients that are also always PCSing, which is kind of similar to what you guys are doing on the civilian sector of things.
Yep.
So thank you so much, Tobie Love, Emilee Frost, admin marketing extraordinaire, and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.